Good evening, everybody. It may be time to declare war outright against the deep state and clear out the rot in the upper levels of the FBI and the Justice Department.
The media is rushing to slander and discredit those of us that are exposing this.
I'm here to warn people. You keep telling me to shut up. This isn't a game.
There are new concerns that anti-Trump FBI officials formed even a secret society at the FBI to subvert the president after his election.
So let's stop there. A secret society, secret meetings offside of the Justice Department.
Correct. Really? Secret societies? You can't make this stuff up.
Let me give you one bottom line. As a former government official, government's going to kill this guy.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
It's one giant incestuous circle of corruption.
Look, the CIA is a rogue agency.
The White House and the President are citing InfoWars.
We have to start getting ready for insurrection and civil war because they're really pushing it. What are we going to do if they kill the president and then order their local governments and their local federal branches to come arrest thousands of resistance leaders? If they kill Trump or remove Trump, it will cause a massive civil war in this country.
This is a FEMA high-level alert.
This is a national emergency. Important instructions will follow.
Remain calm. Go indoors immediately and stay indoors.
This is an emergency broadcast from FEMA.
In compliance with the United Nations, the Department of Homeland Security has declared martial law.
City officials have called for military help. Planes and troops are expected to arrive within the next 2 hours.
If you are receiving this transmission, you are the resistance. It's Alex Jones.
This is a live bulletin. I'll be live at 4 o'clock Central, coming up in a little over an hour with a regular Sunday radio/TV transmission, and then, of course, the weekday broadcast, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. Central, and the other live syndicated programs that we produce here in Austin, Texas. Now, I'm going to get to Joe Rogan and his 4th of July response. Here we are 4 days later on the 8th. I just now saw it today. It's got millions of views online. He's undoubtedly the biggest podcaster on the internet. Very, very important position. I've known him for many, many years. Since 1998, I consider him to be a good friend. And I've been very, very critical of Joe as of late, and I've explained why I've been critical. Well, he responded in a very gracious way with Joey Diaz, another one of my old friends that I met through Joe, one of the funniest guys alive. But that said, I have some issues with it. And so I'm just going to explain from my perspective why I've tried to get Joe's attention and what I'm trying to have a debate about and a discussion about. So that's coming up here in just a few minutes. We're going to air that. Obviously bleeped for our audiences because a lot of what we produce here, even if it's a live special broadcast, ends up on our main feeds to TV stations and radio stations around the country, like we'll be doing coming up a little over an hour at Infowars.com/show. Before I go there first, because Joe also mentions this, so I want to show you the evidence now. They were on July 4th putting the podcast out, and they say, well, Alex says that the Civil War is going to start today. It's all going to be over. And when I said that back on July 1st, I showed USA Today, the Associated Press, top professors, the Pentagon, members of Congress saying they believe we're already in a civil war. And Rob Reiner calling for a civil war. In fact, saying we're in a civil war at a Hollywood award show. And I mean, you've seen it all. And hundreds of attacks just the last week that we know of on Trump supporters being drugged by cars, being beaten over the head, having their hats taken and coffee dumped on them, something I've had happen. I mean, it's all over the news. That Rand Paul got shot at and got 6 ribs broken, and now a guy got arrested trying to kill him. And there's a big list of it up on Infowars.com, but the media plays semantical games. So they ran all these headlines July 4th saying, Jones says today the North will line up against the South. And they showed photos of Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and Ulysses S. Grant and said, yes, Jones believes that war reenactors will now have a North versus South fight. Everyone made jokes about it. This is 21st century war. It's economic. It's flooding us with tens of millions of undocumented illegals, just like Europe. It's trying to break the dollar. It's trying to bankrupt the currency, like Bill Maher's called for plunging the stock market to kick Trump out. It is the culture war you see. And the Democrats call it a civil war. A civil war is when the country is fighting with itself. And I said July 4th, I see as a demarcation line, because they're making so many announcements. The demarcation line is a point where you know you're passing into something. So I'm quite the history buff, and to watch mainstream media prey on people that don't know history is very, very sad and misrepresent what we've said and done. The summer of rage is here. The attacks on nationalists, conservatives, patriots, Trump supporters, veterans, people wearing American flag clothing is exponential. And the calls by Michael Moore and the calls by all these other people, Nancy Pelosi to uprise, Maxine Waters surround the Capitol, blow up the White House, Madonna. I mean, there's thousands of these cases. Kidnap Barron, rape him, all this stuff. But they want to gear up for this, have full-page ads in the New York Times calling for uprisings by Antifa, funded by Soros, to have Antifa attacking anybody that tries to even have prayer vigils or pro-gun rallies in Austin, Texas, or Portland, Oregon, or San Francisco, California, where the police are working with them in blue cities. And that's come out in the Antifa documents. So before I go to Joe Rogan and Joey Diaz and then analyze their response, document cam shot, please, for TV viewers. For radio listeners, you can always just search engine this. Washington Times, America and the Emerging Soft Civil War, a term I coined about a year ago. And the Washington Post even enshrines it and says, you know, Jones has warned of this over and over again. Isn't he a kook? And then there it is a year ago, me saying they've launched a soft civil war. Now top academics are calling it that. Here's another one. Is America headed towards a civil war? Professors and other geopolitical experts believe it's already begun. USA Today. It's already begun. Go read it. USA Today. I mean, zoom in on that for TV viewers. USA Today. USA Today. Now that's back when I said this on July 1st. They were agreeing. New American Civil War. Some people think it's already begun. RT. On and on and on. Rap sheet. 133 acts of media-approved violence and harassment against Trump supporters. There's a lot more than that, obviously. Teen attacked at Whataburger for wearing Make America Great shirt. And again, unreal. Watch liberals protest ICE as they break up a child sex trafficking ring. They actually went and protested that and say it's wrong. Remember, Obama let people who were trafficked come back in to the country and be protected and just let traffickers keep them. Man punched, dragged 30 feet by car for having Trump flag in his yard. Now, here's the good one. July 3rd, a short history of Alex Jones claiming the left is about to start a civil war. And then what do? I point out since Trump got elected, they want a civil war. They want civil unrest. They want to kill the president. They want to overthrow him. They want riots in the streets. I'm not saying it's going to happen up until now. I'm saying they're pushing for it, as anybody who pays attention can see. Breaking, top Democrats call for civil war. And it's a list of them saying it. How is that me in a long history of saying it? Long history of reporting on it. It's like if I watch my neighbor's dog every morning take a crap in my yard. And I went and told the neighbor, hey, I've got 50 photos of your dog crapping in my yard. Like, oh, you claim that. No, I have the damn photos. You said it. December 2017, Alex Jones and Roger Stone train for the next civil war. We just showed Democrats saying they're training to kill us. Ted Nugent joins Alex Jones. The left is trying to start a civil war. Well, they say that. I mean, I'm going to play Rob Reiner in a minute saying it. Breaking, left openly planning civil war. Get ready for civil war. MSM directs Democrats to carry out terror attacks. And then when you actually click on the links, it's us showing them saying it. So if I watch a football team win the Super Bowl and then I report that they won the Super Bowl, is that discrediting? No. Again, so that's what's happening. But after the 4th came, there were hundreds more articles and late night comedy, and Colbert, I'm told, did a piece on it. I haven't watched it. Jones said the country would be in flames and everyone dead last Wednesday. But then you actually go to the video, which they never linked to. I say, I don't believe there'll be mass shootings and burning and death. They say they're ratcheting up into the fall moving with Mueller's report and a call for the 25th Amendment to remove the president from office. And they're saying it on Bill Maher and CNN and everywhere. Everyone knows this. So they engage in this attempted mind control. So here it is. After a second civil war didn't start yesterday, Alex Jones says, just wait. And of course, they don't even link to what I said. They just misquote what I said. Unbelievable. So that's what's happening. We're going to talk more about this, obviously, coming up on the main transmission at 4 o'clock Central. That is coming in here pretty close. They haven't gotten me an atomic clock in here yet. We're gonna get one of those in here very, 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 very soon here in the new podcast breaking studio where we have a smaller crew so we can get on the air more. Okay, now let's go ahead and go to Joe Rogan. I have seen Joe misrepresent and go with mainstream media headlines about where I stand on a host of issues. And I've seen it happen a lot. And I've seen Joe change over the last few years, and I would say become more establishment. Okay? Now, I can't sit here just because I'm friends with Joe and not talk about that. I know for a fact, because George Soros said it on 60 Minutes and NPR and everywhere else, that he was proud of working with the Nazis and his godfather rounding up Jews, and that it was the best time of his life, and it was a happy-making experience. That's a word, happy-making, and that it was exhilarating. These are all quotes. And there's a talking point out there that you see on the Young Turds, and you see on CNN and everywhere, that George Soros was a victim of the Nazis and Alex Jones is lying about him. It's a talking point. So when I saw Joe say that, I got mad about it. I held my tongue for a couple of weeks, and then I just got angry and criticized Joe. And I later I watched the tape of the live feed, third hour of the show. I had, family stuff going on, a lot of other things. So I was already in a bad mood. And so because I wanted to hold back going after Joe, because he's my friend, I kind of went too far probably once I put it out there. So that said, I get hot-headed. So, some of what I said probably went too far on Joe. The issue here is that Joe knows full well that I've only looked at both sides of Sandy Hook, and that the internet didn't believe that it happened, and that for at least 3 years, I can say with a lot of assurity that it probably did happen, but that I know why people question things like that because of wag the dog scenarios, WMDs, babies in incubators that didn't get killed to get us into the Iraq war the first time. So people have a right in First Amendment to question things. They can think the moon's made of cheese if they want. So Joe knows that for years I've said this is not my fight. I know mass shootings happen. When there was the Parkland shooting, the media said I said it didn't happen. And I didn't even say that. I believe it did happen. So Joe knows that I called him about a month and a half ago, and I said, Joe, since you say this stuff on air and all the rest of it, I haven't really asked to come back on your podcast. You called me about 6-8 months ago and said you're going to have me on soon. I said, I'd like to come on because you have such a wide audience that reaches mainstream media and explain and apologize to the families of Sandy Hook because they're being manipulated by the lawyers and the Democrats and others, because they obviously haven't heard me in the last couple of years apologize that the media misconstrued what I said to hurt their feelings. And so when Megyn Kelly came here and said, I'm not going to talk about Sandy Hook, but then did, and then when she edited the tape, because I kept saying, hey, I believe it happened, I'm sorry if it hurt people's feelings, she'd say, well, why then did you question it? And I said, well, people question it. And I said, here were the anomalies. But see, they won't even let me respond when they do this. And the families are on TV going, he keeps saying no one died. He keeps saying I'm a liar, and I'm going to sue him for it. Now, obviously, once that gets to court and all that comes out, just like all these other lawsuits get thrown out, that's where it'll go, if there's justice and truth in this country and law. But they don't care. The media doesn't. They want to keep bringing it up, keep misrepresenting like they do, saying Trump says he hates all Mexicans and they're all criminals. There's no video of that. He said there's a lot of criminals coming across the border, which is documented. So it's the same thing where they defame you, claiming that you've defamed them. But the truth is coming out, and people are figuring this out in a big, big way. So I'm going to play the Joe clip with him and Joey Diaz and get to it. But here's the deal. You know, I've hung out with Joe a lot. He's got me tickets, you know, and hung out with him in Vegas and Texas and all over. And I've known the guy forever. And, you know, I've been there, you know, partying with him in his hotel room and when the sun's coming up at 6 a.m. in Vegas, okay? So, I mean, I know Joe very, very well. He's a great guy, funny guy, smart guy. But I know that more and more he tries to take a middle line with the establishment, because when I went on his show, and it was the #1 podcast he'd done to that date, they delisted it on iTunes. They wouldn't even list it. And they blocked it a bunch of places and wouldn't let it upload for a day. And that was his message to him is, you don't have people like Alex Jones on or we'll censor you. And that's where I'm frustrated, is that I don't care if Joe has the biggest media platform in the world. He has the biggest podcast right now, and that's great. But when he goes along enough with the establishment not to have them throttle him, not to have them shadow ban him, like they don't shadow ban Jordan Peterson or Shapiro or any of those people, that needs to be discussed and debated. And it's a fact. We have the Project Veritas videos. We have the lawsuits. We have the admissions that their main target's InfoWars, because they can shut that down and curtail it. It's the beta test. So I'm telling Joe, man, you know, you need to respond to censorship. It's against everybody. And those of you that kind of leave it alone and kind of go down the middle of the road, you'll be censored later. So if they were censoring Michael Moore, I'd be against it. If they were censoring Joe Rogan, I'd be against it. If they were censoring anybody, Jack Kevorkian has his right to say he believes people have a right to assisted suicide. They just don't have the right to state-sponsored, in my view. But see, that's the thing, is I get to sit here and watch them censor nationalists, patriots, conservatives, and know they're putting the screws to everybody else to say, you better go along with the status quo at least enough, or we're going to throttle you back, when the answer to censorship is all of us to rally together. You know, Mark Randazza is one of the top First Amendment lawyers in this country. He represents porn companies. He represents the gay lobby. He represents neo-Nazis. He represents you name it. And he's one of the best lawyers, so he represents me in the Sandy Hook suits. New York Times, how, you know, neo-Nazi lawyer. Randazza is a liberal. Neo-Nazi lawyer represents Jones. He got a bunch of death threats. F you, Nazi, for supporting the Nazi Alex Jones. The left doesn't even want me to have representation because they're not the left. They're oppressing people on the colleges. They're oppressing speech everywhere. They are suing people they disagree with and admitting in the suits they want to shut down our speech. They are engaging in violence all over the country. They're engaging in attempts to deplatform everybody. They're engaging in attempts to shut down comedy. And Joe knows all this. So just like he gets pissed at a comedian that steals jokes, and he's been famous for exposing that, and he's been policing things, that's fine. I get mad when I know somebody's as smart as I am. But behind the scenes, Joe knows everything I know and more. You watch that podcast interview with him, and he's finishing my sentences and guiding the whole thing. He knows. Joe knows. I mean, he goes, oh, chemtrails, they're spraying. Doesn't mean every kook pointing up at a condensation trail's right, but there are government declassified programs. They're manipulating the atmosphere. Dubai controls their atmosphere. China controls their atmosphere. Weather modification's real. It's going on. There are the patents where they added to jet fuel of many of the companies. The companies aren't even aware of it. I've had the former head of the weather weapons program, Dr. Ben Livingston, on. The interviews are free online. When it was declassified, he came on a decade ago. And it's just the same thing where you point at something and then go, oh, and just say, yeah, that's crazy. It's like the media says that I said that there are Martian bases with slave children on it. There's no video of me. There's no audio. It doesn't exist. It's a total lie. And again, then I hear that regurgitated by people that I know it's not true, and that makes me angry. That's what upsets me. Not that it's even hurting me in the information war, because we're going to win this thing. It's that we would win this even quicker if people, liberal, conservative, libertarian, old, young, I'd call Joe a libertarian, would just stand up and say, we are not going to get rid of the First Amendment, and we are not going to allow the web censorship that the EU is running and that Soros is pushing, Article 13, Article 11, look it up. that puts a browser over what you can even type on the web, just like a smartphone will let you type cuss words, but it's beyond that. This is all coming. This is all here. And Joe, in a couple of years, if they're successful, you won't be on air unless you're their total lapdog, like people like Bill Maher. And man, I watched Jordan Peterson and I watched Ben Shapiro go on and kiss Bill Maher's ass and tell him how they're fans and how they love him. And Bill Maher's audience isn't even that big. And Bill Maher's a fraud and a charlatan who wants our economy to crash when he's worth $100 million and then lies about it and says, well, the poor people can handle it. No, you, sir, are a joke. I'm talking to Bill Maher. So that's what I'm getting at here is that my frustration is you should be a champion for free speech like you always were, even just a few years ago, criticizing the left and the universities and the censorship. But instead, you're having the approved leftist on more and more so they can sit there. It's like Ben Shapiro put out a tweet along with 1,000+ newspapers, letters from the Second Civil War making fun of me, saying the North and South are lining up to kill each other, when it's all over the news the left wants a civil war and says they've launched one. So I know there are establishment hacks who think they're going to control the libertarian populist movement, and I see you aligning with it. I have to announce that I'm aligning against it. I mean, I've already gone through the litmus test of losing my local radio show 20 years ago when I wouldn't be censored and getting kicked off most of my radio stations when I exposed 9/11 for being an inside job. I'm not trying to win a popularity contest. I'm trying to hit the barbed wire and be a shock troop to make it safe for others to tell the truth. And that's my job. And the president recognizes that I'm willing to say and do the things on air that other people won't do. I'm willing to break the ice. And that's recognized at the Pentagon and by the president and everybody else. I organically did what I did on my own. But now, because we have patriots more and more in our government, I am aligned. And I am, to a certain extent, directed. But only in that I already agree with the directives and check them, or people ask, what do you think? And then we come up with a new directive. And new directives that become policy. Because the patriots in the government know I'm for real. I have a track record. I've got a sense and a touch on the zeitgeist, and so do they, and we're in this together to restore the republic. So, Joe, just like I told you a week before the election, Trump will win. I'm telling you now, we're on the right side of history, and playing it safe is not the way to go. Now, I'm live in about 58 minutes, so I need to get on through this, but I know Joe's a busy guy, and it was a message to me and with Joey Diaz, and I respect that, and I like Joe as a person. It's just that they delisted my podcast with you, and for a year it was your biggest podcast, and now you've had two bigger. I mean, that's my life, is being number one in my realm, in the aggregate, radio, TV, satellite, internet, all these different platforms. But you are the biggest when it comes to the main podcast, which I love that. I feel good that you're my friend and proud of that and glad you're successful. But you did it because you were independent, you were organic, you were a trailblazer, you were real, you were Joe Rogan. But trying to play it safe during the giant censorship wars and sitting out the fight isn't who you are. And, I've seen you a couple times, 4 or 5 times back when we be at your comedy shows or wherever, where some big 6'5" guy try to kick your ass and you'd control him and slam him on the wall on the ground. Then you're not a guy that backs down from stuff. But, they say that moral courage in the face of peer pressure is more rare than physical courage. So I'm just saying, be the man you are, Joe. Everybody knows you are. And understand that we're under attack. Free speech is under attack. And I mean, here's what it comes down to. Used to, if I called Joe, he'd call me back. And I'm not calling 2 or 3 times a year. Sometimes he called me 2 or 3 times a year. That's all. I'm coming to town. How you doing? Let's get dinner. Come out to the thing. Oh, yeah. It's not a butthurt thing. It's that things have changed. I call Joe now. He doesn't respond to me. He doesn't talk to me. I have to leave him messages, or then I relay to people that talk to him. Oh, yeah, Joe got your message. And it's just the thing of all these little plastic nobodies that are establishment come in there, and it's a red carpet for them. And I've known you since 1998. That's 20 years. And now it's just another symbol of your break from all this, which is fine. Then I will communicate with you on air. And then you will respond back. Why is that? Because it'd be a phone call that I wanted back more than being on your show, flying out to LA and that smog-infested hell. We have our tens of millions of views every week just on YouTube places alone. I don't need to fly out there to reach 10 million people. It's just that, wow, in this fight, you say you love me, well, I love you too. Well, you don't act like the person I've known all those years. And a lot of people notice it. So here's Joe and Joey Diaz. And I think I'm probably just roll this with limited comment. Here it is.
Costner. And then he slices her face and he puts her in a whorehouse.
That's right.
To get in the every hour on the hour. This is it. It's the 4th of July, dog. Get your together. You know what I'm saying? If Alex Jones is correct, we're going to have a civil war today. So what the You talk to Alex, you got to calm him down.
Alex, you got to calm down.
Talking about a civil war, he had me doing an extra achievement chew the other night. I was polishing the musket.
Alex thinks I'm defending the New World Order because I didn't think that George Soros was a Nazi. Oh, it's all so painful.
What's up, Joe Rogan?
Nothing.
Then pause again. Back it up a second. See, I said I'm not going to interrupt it, but see, he knows it's true. He's been sent all the clips. So before, it's not true that George Soros was a Nazi. He was a victim of the Holocaust. Now it's at least, it's so hard. It's a bummer. We just smoked a big joint. Let's not go there. So at least he isn't a hero now. At least he didn't cut Hitler's head off. So at least me doing that, you got somebody to be sane out there. Here we go.
So painful.
What's up, Joe Rogan?
Nothing.
What's happening, brother?
Everything's great, man.
Me too. I feel good.
Alex Jones, I love you, buddy. For real. But you say some silly That's where this all comes from. Doesn't mean I don't love you. You're a great guy. But there's some that's just silly. It's wasted time.
Pause again. Back it up. Hundreds of articles before the July 4th, hundreds on the day, probably 1,000. I can't track them all, but Google shows the number over 1,000. With Alex Jones' Civil War. Saying Jones said the whole country would be burned down. I didn't say that. I said the Democrats are all announcing it. We're going into one. I see this as the ramp up. July 4th marks it into the fall. This is the big push. That's not crazy. That's on target. That's right. But see the alchemy of how it turns into crazy stuff. You see, by the media misrepresenting. Continue.
It's just silly. It's wasted time. You know, that's one of those things that's just a waste of time. Does that make sense?
I'm with you.
I think there's real conspiracies, you know, but I think there's some that, you know, people just get caught up in looking for conspiracies and everything. And after a while, it's exhausting.
Let's get the bull off the table.
I love the guy.
I loved the podcast with Ari last week.
Hey, back it up for a minute. Back it up 10 seconds. Joe is absolutely right that because and this is where Joe's right. Joe is right overall. And so, again, I apologize for some of the things I said might have gone too far. But here's the key to everything. You've got mainstream media telling you different stuff all the time, lying on purpose, so nobody believes a word they say anymore. And then you've got people over here that think we're all in the Matrix, and I love Eddie Bravo. He's a smart guy, and we've been lied to so much, whatever, but, flat earth or whatever. So you've got things that I don't think are true, things that I don't agree with. But because people have been lied to so much, when you're lied to so much, you start believing anything. And Eddie has a lot of good things about NASA and about most of the stuff Eddie sends me. He's dead on. He's got a successful comedy tour, tinfoil hat comedy right now. But and I don't want to say Eddie's all the way over here at the most extreme stuff, but you've got mainstream media lying on purpose. Then you got people that don't believe a word the mainstream media said, and people that are questioning, people that don't know anymore. And so, yes, they project conspiracies onto everything. That is absolutely true. Like the Democrats saying Russians stole the damn election. I looked into it. It's pure crap. Or that I'm a Russian agent. Or that I'm in the KKK. Absolutely. But see, conspiracies are just called BS. But are there millions of charges a year, state and local and federal, on people for conspiracy to do this, conspiracy to do that? Hundreds of thousands of charges a year, millions every decade? Absolutely. So again, Joe's got a point there. Let's continue.
Exhausting.
Let's get the bull off the table.
I love the guy.
I loved the podcast with Ari last week. Yesterday, Tina Turner's son committed
Look,
suicide.
Alex Jones going to hear this, so I got to finish.
Okay, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay. It's just, I love the guy. I really do. I just don't support a lot of the that he said, like the Sandy Hook stuff. I don't know if he's since disavowed that. I don't know if he changed his opinion on it. I don't know what it is, but at a certain point in time, you're like, Jesus, man.
I'd back that up. I said I'd just play it through, but I've told people to get messages to Joe. I've left messages, and I know he listens to them. I can see them being listened to. And I explained that to him, and he knows. He knows all these subjects, and so he's just being neutral, see? Why not? When you see this, maybe you'll get that correct. Because I already explained it earlier. Let's continue.
But at a certain point in time, you're like, Jesus, man, are you sure? Like, you got to be really sure before you say something crazy like that.
Pause again.
Right?
And what I would do is, when the whole internet 5 years ago said Sandy Hook was fake, my listeners were wanting to kill me, a lot of them, for not saying it was fake. I just said, I can't believe they would stage something. And then I looked at it, had some anomalies, and I played devil's advocate and looked at both sides. The media, Hillary ran campaign ads with edited clips of me looking at both sides, but only, God, man, Megyn Kelly aired tapes where I said Hillary was responsible for killing kids in the Middle East by backing ISIS in the Arab Spring, and that bitch took video from my show. That lying whore took video from the TV show, and notice it was audio. Guys, type into the search engine, Megyn Kelly caught editing tapes on Alex Jones and on Pizzagate. And she edited a tape of me saying Hillary personally ordered operations that killed kids in Syria and Libya. And she's got the blood of kids on her hands. And then they showed audio, not video, because it was edited. I mean, that's the level of crap I deal with, man. And people say, well, sue them. Well, I'll leave it at that. My lawyers have asked me not to say anything, but you notice I've been countersuing folks and filing anti-slapback suits and everything else. So it's coming. And we got their ass, man. We got their ass. There it is. Megyn Kelly caught editing tapes to demonize Alex Jones. Yeah, fast forward on that a little bit. It'll actually show where they mess with the audio. I don't even know if this is the right one. Yeah, keep skipping ahead, guys, because you'll see Megyn Kelly on TV. Her on Fox News. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You got to skip ahead a lot more. There it is. Go back. You see that? That's me talking about, but edited. They edited it. Talking about the Middle East. Okay, that's good. Thank you. That's it. And then I show you the original source with me in studio actually saying it and show how they edited it. So that's what I'm dealing with, Joe. I know you're a busy guy and you know me and all this stuff, but I'm here to tell you what I really said, and you have enough power when you hit a lot of mainstream people to actually show that and expose the whole thing. Let's continue.
Don't you think? Look, I think he's a great guy as a person. I'm not attacking him. I just, when he goes crazy, he gets mad at me. I want to hug him.
I love when he told me the story about trucks pulling up in front of your house and they could see through your walls.
They probably can do that.
And they do that in different neighborhoods. You know,
they probably can do something like that.
But then after 5 of those,
yeah, pause again. I told people 20 years ago that they had helicopters with ground penetrating radar that could look through your walls, and like 5 years later, it was all over the news. I mean, the Microsoft Connect box 9 years ago, it was in Wired magazine that it uses the radio frequency stuff and can look through your walls and see you taking a dump or having sex with your girlfriend. That was all over the news, man. So Joey Diaz goes, well, after 7 or 8 of these, yeah, there's USA Today, Joey. A decade after I told you. And see, that's the thing. It's like I'm the bad guy, that I'm informed, the media misrepresents what I've said, and then my old friends, yeah, what year is that? 2015. You can watch my film, Police State 2000, 1999. 16 years before, and I show that damn device out of a frickin' police catalog. And by the way, Joe Rogan is as smart as I am, or smarter. I'm not just kissing his ass, but he's even smarter in person. And that's what pisses me off, Joe, is you know full damn well. Continue.
And this is my experience with him. He'll tell you something that you got to sit there and go, what the am I doing sitting here? But that's cool. That's Alex, and we accept him for what the he is. I just thought there was a civil war starting today. I read on Twitter.
That's what he was saying.
The Democrats are going at it today, so somebody's shooting somebody. So knows?
So just to calm Alex down, nobody's telling me what to say. No one's telling me what to do. I'm not involved in the New World Order.
Who's the New World
Just
Order?
a comedian.
Enlighten me about the New World Order.
I'm not sure. I'm not
pause
involved,
again. Okay. Type in world government in crisis if Trump gets elected. Bono says the EU and world government systems are falling. The UN's falling. It's unelected big world government corporations coming in and controlling nation states. And people are pulling out of it all over the world. See what's happening with the Brexit? See what Trump's doing? We're not going to have a bunch of secret multinational groups controlling everything. And again, I could stop this tape 100 times because, Joe, I'm not saying anybody's telling you what to say. You're smart enough to know how to act and how to behave to have the system not censor you. That's the issue. Yes, the global government is under attack. Globalism is falling. It's the big global news, brother. I'm on the phone. I'm not going to brag, but I'm on the phone with European leaders on a routine basis talking about strategies for the future and asking me to help quarterback stuff in Europe. I don't have the money, the energy, the people. But I've got major leaders in Europe ready for InfoWars to come in and run major resistance operations in the PSYOPs divisions. And then I've got to sit here to my fellow Americans, drunk on entertainment and all the rest of it, making jokes about it. And I'm not saying Joe's doing that. I appreciate him and Joey, but you notice they just keep going, oh, there's supposed to be a civil war today. No, in the Civil War, the way the media was describing it wasn't coming. And I described that in my own video. Let's continue.
I want Alex to know, I'm not involved.
Who are those people you eating dinner with the other night? Were you in the New World Order?
Who's the dinner people?
The people you say you were eating with smart people.
Oh, they're just, these are all podcasters and former professors and all these different people that are doing different things together.
You scared me the other day, though. You had Eddie on the ropes, right? He was thinking you went back with the CIA.
What? What?
Yeah, you got people
Eddie?
on the ropes, sure.
What are you talking about?
He knows the CIA. Who knows?
What?
Nothing. Okay. Don't worry
about you saying?
Don't worry about nothing. Eat a cheap chew. It's the 4th of July.
Here, let's just stop the tape. No, Joe, I'm with the CIA. We're not saying you're with the CIA. And I wasn't with the CIA 25 years ago when I started out. I was with good elements of the CIA when Donald Trump got elected and tried to take the country back from the globalists because we're under globalist control. The communist Chinese, the EU, Hollywood, the big banks, they say they run this country and they broke its back. So forget the CIA. It's bigger than Coca-Cola. Talking about the CIA like it's mysterious or cool, like talking about the post office. The CIA gets its talking points from me, Joe, and other patriots, not the other way around. I run the CIA, Joe. The American people run the CIA, Joe. Our will runs the country. We're taking it back. And you know full well about that too, Joe. You know about the CIA. You're out there in the middle of Hollywood. You know damn well, and we've talked about it. Continue.
No fireworks like CBS Radford.
I think conspiracies are fun, and that's part of the problem with conspiracies. They're fun. They're fun to chase down. They really are. They're interesting.
I'll tell you what's fun to chase down, to read about one and to absorb it by yourself. Yeah. Once I get into a room with 3 men and we're on a conspiracy for 48 minutes, that's when I get aggravated. Well, that's what I don't ever want to talk about. That's what that kills me. I don't have the time to discuss whether the moon landing or not. We all have an idea of what.
Joey Diaz and Joe Rogan know all about the UFC and who owns it. And Dana White, who's a really good guy, by the way, Americana, but then the family behind it, who haven't done bad. They've launched a major franchise as big as the NFL. And they've not been leftist political hacks. So I admire the UFC. I admire Dana White. I admire the American family behind it. I'm not going to get into that. But now you got Middle Eastern money coming in. And, you know, the way they have controlled the market, the way they've gone in and dominated the things they've done, I mean, you could call that a conspiracy. I wouldn't call it a criminal conspiracy, but it's been, you know, it's been pretty strong arm. And I get it. Do you want the EU or Russia running UFC in the U.S.? I mean, I get it becomes a strategic issue. But don't play dumb, guys. Don't sit there and play dumb about what Las Vegas is with your audience like you don't know full well, Joe Rogan, and told me 20 plus years ago all about it. And I already know about it myself. Let's continue.
We think happened. Guess what? I really don't want to talk about it. Not on the 4th of July.
Yeah, no.
Hit pause again.
The problem with them.
We're taking the country back on 4th of July. I said we're launching our second American Revolution that's informational, that's free market, that's cultural. They're launching their intimidation, their censorship, their bullying, their physical attacks. Dozens of people arrested trying to shoot members of Congress and state legislatures on the July 4th. Attacks all over the country. I'm right. I told the truth. I raised the alarm. And God damn it, I'm sick of other men who I know aren't pussies sitting there on the frickin' sideline, man. When you guys know full damn well about every bit of this, Joey Diaz, go back to it.
Not on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, don't talk about foreign globalist powers trying to take over America on the 4th of July, because that's what it's all about. Don't talk about what America is on the 4th of July. Don't celebrate we're bringing the country back. Imply that those of us that talk about criminal groups and what they're up to, and somehow we're pissing on America when we're the ones bringing it back. Continue.
There's a tendency is that when people get really into conspiracy theories, they're into everything being a conspiracy. It's not like they're into conspiracy theories and also into the history of Cuba. They can give you a detailed history of some really crazy that went down. Like, how many people that are really into conspiracy theories?
We do all that.
Could give you a rundown on how Castro took over Cuba, which is like a real thing that happened.
Well, that was the CIA.
In, you know, our parents' lifetimes.
They double-crossed
right?
them.
Think about that. How many people that are into, like, you know, whether or not there's bases on the moon know about, you know, all these different things that have happened through human history. The Mongols, the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire. There was crazy shit that definitely really
we covered
happened. All the stuff that happened during the Vietnam War.
We have them
all
all
the
on.
stuff that happened during the Nixon administration. All that stuff's real. It's fascinating. Fascinating to look into. But then you get to dumb ones like, oh, God. We're really discussing whether or not the earth is flat? Is this a real conversation? Like, people really doing that? Satellites aren't real?
Go on social media. Don't get losing their goddamn mind.
You'll find a bunch of people that'll agree with you, too. Got to be so careful about not listening to scientists.
I'm going to tell you what else I saw.
No, that's not me. And that's some of that's a misrepresentation of what 10th Planet guy talks about. Yeah, I know who he is. I just don't want to get into it. Guys popped in my ear. Eddie Bravo. I don't know what to say at this point. I mean, that's all we cover on my show is the history and the admissions and all of it. And that's what we do. So I'm glad Joe reached out. You know, I told him months ago, I said, I'm going to try to call you back. You know, you keep saying about Sandy Hook and this and that. Here's what I really said. I sent him clips and just no response. But see, you'd think in the media world, if I was one of the biggest podcasts he ever did, even though it was censored, that he want me back on. It isn't about me getting back on. It's about that, no, you're not on because you're number one. And it's the same thing of, in the Americana system, what is the most successful and what the people want is what you get. Under collectivist systems, you get the opposite. You think, well, wait, collectivist is what everybody wants. No, the globalists create the fake collective, then you are all slaves. I'm an individualist collectivist, meaning individualists go out, pick their ideas, promote together, vote in the free market of ideas, and then collectively we tend to choose what's the best and what's known to be the top of the line of culture, science, medicine, ideas, you name it. And so I get that Joe wants to be friends with everybody. That's great. But the globalists aren't going to let Joe do that. And absolutely, there are all these crazy-ass conspiracy theories on YouTube that YouTube promotes. They don't shadow ban people talking about the 20 different races of aliens and secret bases and our government's run by aliens and all this stuff that I didn't say. They'll edit that and play that. I'm not the one that covers all that stuff. I mean, Joe's the one that had a TV show on Discovery, History, Spike, what was it? Where it was like Bigfoot and all this other stuff. And, you know, Joe had fun with it. Fine, I didn't judge him going, man, that's really discrediting. You're doing Bigfoot, running around the woods. You know, when Jesse Ventura's show got like that in the second season, I said, I don't want to be part of this. And I'm not up here on some high horse. It's just that that's where I stand. Okay, I'm going to end this piece before I go live in 35 minutes at Infowars.com/show and radio and TV stations across the country where they can't shadow ban us for now. So if you're watching these live feeds, remember they don't want these to get out. With a compilation just of some of the Democrats and others engaged in violence, shooting people, attacking people. Hell, we didn't even add CNN saying the guy that shot Congressman Scalise was a hero. Dude didn't add a lot to this because there's so many clips. But here's the media saying nobody wants a civil war. There's no call for civil war. But USA Today says top professors say we're in a civil war. They say we're in a civil war. I say, well, they think we're in one. I think they're going to ratchet up through the summer into the fall so you could mark July 4th of when they think they're launching it. That turns into, I said, they would all pull out guns and start shooting everyone and the whole country would burn down July 4th. I didn't say that. And see, that's how this works because they think you're not watching. They think you're not paying attention. But you know what? People are. So let's go ahead and go to this compilation of the left calling for civil war or saying we're in a civil war. Hell, from Rob Reiner to Bill Maher to Michael Moore to people carrying out violence at an intensifying rate while they call for violence and call for us all being Nazis and come after us and bully us and ban free speech and shadow ban the web and censor everybody. And then all of us that have been proven right predicting this was coming, we're somehow discredited and even our old friends laugh at us. Here it is. Hey, Joe. Back it up, yeah. I love you and Joey. You're real cutie pies. If you ever want to come into Austin, Texas, I want to give you a big hug too. You can come on my show. So I just hope someday, once we win this war and turn things around, that we can sit back and, you know, have a beer or something and talk about the old days because I just want to see you on my side or on the side of free speech, which I think you are. But I just want to be with you in history. I like you, man. You're a really cool guy. And so is Joey and the rest of that whole crew. So we're all Americans. We all have free speech. But let's go ahead and here's the left saying we're in a civil war. I just said it was coming. They say we're in it. Here it is.
And it goes on, and you see the people that he hires that are in his administration, and we see that this now becomes the last battle of the Civil War. And we're fighting it right now. And we're going to win. We're going to win.
And so how are you guys planning to disrupt them throughout the day?
Starting with everything from checkpoint blockades to traffic blockades. The plan is to make the entire inauguration a total cluster.
Nobody's really supposed to know about me. So the Chicago protest, when they shut all that was us. It was more him than me, but none of this is supposed to come back to us because we want it coming from people. We don't want it to come from the party.
Yesterday he was a monster, a racist, a misogynist, and today, well, he's our president. We must give him a chance. We're not giving him a chance. No peace, no peace, no Trump, no peace, no Trump.
Already, you have members of your cabinet that are being booed out of restaurants. You have protesters taking up at their house.
Can you imagine if these scumbags actually ran the country, these mentally ill people?
No sleep. No peace, no sleep. And guess what? We're going to win this battle.
We're going to win this battle. Michael Moore calls for uprising in a minute.
Deep divisions along party lines and fears over immigration have raised concerns for the ultimate fate of the U.S. Almost a third of Americans polled said they thought a second civil war was possible.
But at a party this week on Martha's Vineyard, a woman said,
If Dershowitz were here tonight, I'd stab him through the heart. This is a Martha's Vineyard woman.
Furthermore, the same poll indicated that roughly 60% of Americans believe that backlash to Donald Trump's policies could turn violent. The debate surrounding Trump's immigration policies and the media fuming over it, the gun control debate, and the White House and the intelligence community not getting along, that has been quite explosive at times.
Jeff Goods says a man he doesn't know pulled up to his house and told him he needed to take down this flag in his front yard. Goods says when he told him no, the man punched him.
Right in the face. In fact, he kind of used like a claw method.
Goods says instinctively he tried to hit him back, but got his arm stuck in the man's car as he sped off.
This is where it happened.
Goods says he was dragged about 30 feet.
For the president. You ain't supporting
That plan is a campaign to make America white again.
And I finally, comrades, I believe with all my heart and soul that this is the party that will lead the revolution to take the White House down, that will make the United States of America a socialist country. The young people in this room will see it. The young people in this room will build it. So all power to the youth, all power to the revolution. Black Lives Matter. Si se puede.
You work for Daily Caller. You work for the other side. You work for the other side. While they round up your Latina brothers and sisters, you take their money. You take their money. You are the racist.
ICE is not welcome in this country. HSI is not welcome. I don't support what they do. I think it's a blasphemy.
We're really calling on the community to say that this is not okay, that we're going to fight back. We're not going to let people just disappear like this.
Again, Oakland Police Department confirming this had to do with a federal criminal search warrant that had to do with human sex trafficking of juveniles. That's really the information that we have been we just received moments ago.
Something like, is your nickname Herpes because you're not necessarily the most dangerous person in the administration, but you're very unpleasant, totally incurable, and you always show up when we're about to get
If you vote for Trump, then you, the voter, you, not Donald Trump, are standing at the border like Nazis, going, you here, you here. And I think we now have to flip it. And it's a given, the evilness of Donald Trump.
This is becoming an authoritarian state, and we need a grassroots effort today. Build up the tension. We have to turn this into a 3-day story. And what I want people to do is to commit, just like I will, that we would go to Washington, D.C. if such a crazy, insane act occurred, and we would lay down in front of the tanks.
Well, I'll join a million other people surrounding the United States Capitol. I will stand there. I will put Bill, let me tell you something. This judge goes through for the rest of at least, well, all of our lives. It's a right-wing court. That's it. It's over.
Combined with the White House and the Congress,
well,
of course.
Yeah, yes. And if this is the last American president.
I just don't even know why there aren't uprisings all over the country.
And if you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome anymore, anywhere.
Do something about your dad's immigration practices, you feckless.
What's Uncle Tom but for white women who disappoint other white women?
One way you get rid of Trump is a crashing economy, so please bring on the recession.
When was the last time an actor assassinated a president?
I have thought an awful lot about blowing up the White House.
There are politicians who are irresponsibly calling for the harassment of anybody who feels different, who thinks differently than they do. So they're calling for violence. And what this is going to lead to is there's going to be some casualties in that. And it's the beginning of a civil war between Americans. When American politicians are telling people to mob up and harass anybody who feels differently, then it's the end of free speech, it's the end of free thought.